this state has brought itself to the brink of bankruptcy. And because of that, they're turning now to local government. And what they're proposing will bring to the brink of bankruptcy every city and village across this state. One of the greatest robberies that's taking place, or could take place, in this session is by them taking the last remaining dollars that were part of the income tax set back in 1969. And in the meantime, we had a governor try to blackmail us on trying to squeeze us to get to the members of the General Assembly and convince them about his borrowing plan. That's their problem downstate. They need to understand about cuts. You asked about suggestions. I have not yet seen a proposal from either side, because if you talk to them down there, whether it's Republicans or the Democrats or the governor, none of them have come up with a budget plan because none of them want to cut. And we have done that for the last 2.5 years. We are down to bare bone in our communities, and I appreciate the press being here because honestly, this message needs to get to the citizens of the state. What's taking place up here is also taking place across the entire state of Illinois, where mayors are getting together, are holding press conferences, they're sending letters to their citizens to call their state reps and to call their state senators, because they are in a fiscal crisis, and they're about to bring cities and villages under that same crisis. We're the ones that generate the sales tax. We're the ones that generate the income tax to the coffers downstate. And now you're going to cut the complete legs out from underneath us and the citizens who provide that type of revenue to the state of Illinois. They need to do what they need to do, and they know what they need to do, but nobody's got the courage to go down there and do it, other than to take from another revenue source that's not theirs.
So what's your suggestion on what should be cut?
Look, here's my suggestion as mayors that we met earlier. There are almost 1,200 executives across this entire state, mayors. You know what? If they want about 15 or 20 of us to go down there and balance their budget, we'll go down there. We'll go down there and balance their budget, because we know what it takes to run our cities, to maintain the services, and to make the tough choices. We've made them. They need to make them.
But what are they? I mean, what specifically should the
It starts
state cut?
as 85% of the services that we have to perform. It comes through personnel. It comes through people. I don't have the details of all their line items, but I'd be more than happy to go down there and take a look at them. But it's a people thing, and you can't give out increases. We've gone through furloughs over the last 2 or 3, or layoffs, as some of the mayors. There's not a mayor in this room and across the state that hasn't cut back on personnel, or laid off, or created furloughs. I'm not seeing that, not to the extent of what it takes to balance their budget down there. And those are the kind of questions I think the press, you need to get specific with them, is what are you cutting? What are you doing to balance that budget?
But there's the argument that those cuts are going to cost you guys anyway. I mean, it's lowering budgets for the police, lowering budgets for schools, cutting social services that serve your communities, and that you're eventually going to be picking up those costs at some point too.
We already
I want
those
to be
cuts.
able to share everybody,
Sorry.
have an opportunity.
Good morning, my name is Michael Garvey, G-A-R-V-Y, I'm the village president of the Village of Brookfield. I think this just has to be looked at as a unilateral change in the rules midstream. The taxes were created in 1969, it was split up this way. Our residents have been paying that money, expecting it to come back in this fashion. Springfield is now suggesting that it is more efficient for them to decide how this money should be spent. It is such a unique change in rules that I submit a unique solution. Why not put it to a referendum question, statewide referendum, and let the residents of the state of Illinois make a decision. Who is better equipped to spend this money, and who is better equipped to make changes? I'm not an arrogant person, I'm not a cocky person, but I think I get a pretty good vote in my town about whether we are better equipped to make the spending decisions with this money than the people in the state of in Springfield right now. We're the ones on the front line that have made the tough choices and have made cuts. To ask us to sit here and tell us which line items from the state budget should we cut is unfair. We know certain departments, we know certain areas, but we know our own areas and our own departments. Let us take care of our budget with the funds we were promised. We promised to go down and help Springfield if they will rely on our expertise, and we all go down there free of charge and do that.
You talk about change in rules here, and somebody else mentioned a timetable in which this money, is that timetable laid out specifically in that 1969 statute?
It's my understanding that when it was set up, the split between the local governments and the state government was set up and has been in place and there wasn't a sunshine or a period when it ended. It was supposed to be as long as the tax was.
But it's not ending. What's happening is you're just not gonna get the money that you need right now. You'll get it later on, according to the governor. So, no, in all fairness, so that's what the governor has said. So, the question is, does it say in the law that on the first of every month, you get a check?
We need to make a very clear distinction here. What is being discussed in both houses of our assembly is not a delay. That is what the governor said, and what he meant is open interpretation. But what they're clearly saying in both houses, members of both houses, again, I stress that we find it in the Senate Republicans and the Chicago Democrats, and where we hear it the most, is not a delay. It's a complete eradication of all or part of the local funding that our taxpayers pay locally in order to derive critical local services. Police, fire, and others. And snow removal, all the things they expect. That's what it was for, that's what they've been paying for, and now we're hearing, well, gosh, we ran into a little trouble down here. Maybe we weren't as responsible as we should have been over the last 30 years, and now we're gonna hit you for it.
Do you see that point of view getting enough traction in Springfield to actually gain momentum and pass, or is that something that they're just
My
talking
belief
about?
is if the citizens of this state, our constituents, don't stand up and start making noise and contacting their legislators, my belief is that almost anything can happen in Springfield. In fact, it has.
Well, surely then you have a worst-case scenario plan, if you have to. If this does go through, can some mayor shed some light on that perhaps? What yours
Well,
may be? How about a new?
Every community is different, so I'll
Sure.
ask one from a home rule
Good.
and non-home rule, so, okay.
I'll do non-home rule.
All right.
Gary Grasso, GRA, SSO, Mayor, Village of Burr Ridge, incoming president of DuPage Mayors and Managers. Non-home rule communities can't raise taxes. All we can do is cut further. Communities across the state, even Burr Ridge, DuPage counties, all the counties around Chicago have all cut. You asked what's gonna happen, is there a contingency plan? I have police openings I cannot fill. We have not given raises to employees that we have because we don't know what's happening in Springfield. We have cut in Burr Ridge, 10 employees, doesn't sound like a lot, but we're a small village. It's 10%, it's 20% of our staff. So when you say, share the pain, what's happening here and why we're saying it's a stealth tax, it's our money. The agreement since 1969 was that they would collect the money and give it to us as part of our taxes. It's like me asking you as your employer, do you want direct deposit? And you say yes. And then I'm having trouble in my business. And so I tell you, well, guess what? We're not gonna direct deposit your money, we're gonna keep it. Not only are we gonna keep, we're gonna delay it, and then we're not even gonna pay it to you. So that's why this is not an issue to be compromised with. This is not an issue to share pain with, because we have done that, and as the mayors have said in their own individual ways, we have already endured the pain. We have cut snow plowing, we have cut leaf picking up, the everyday services that affect the quality of life in the particular villages that are here and why you live in Illinois. This issue is affecting the quality of life in our communities. And it is that severe, and that's why we're all here.
Hi, I'm David Pope from Oak Park. David spelled the conventional way. Pope spelled the conventional way. Oak Park spelled the conventional way. Over the course of the last 3.5 years, we've reduced staffing levels in our community by 20%. The amount of the proportion of our budget revenues for our general expenditures that we receive from the state local share is 10%. So you're talking about a 10% reduction for a municipality that has already reduced its staffing levels by 20%, that has had non-union represented employees who are now in their third year of a wage freeze, where we have imposed, through bargaining negotiations with our union employees who are not police and fire,